The hum of the office air conditioner echoed through the empty hallways as I sat at my desk, mindlessly scrolling through my email. It was another Tuesday, and the monotony of the work week settled in like an unwelcome guest. The faint ringing of the elevator interrupted the dull rhythm, and there she was, Louise, with her infectious laugh and mischievous glint in her eyes. We had once been inseparable, sharing jokes and the occasional drink after work. But time passed and we found ourselves in different corners of the corporate maze, our communication reduced to passing nods in the hallway. It wasn't until that fateful Tuesday that the foundations of our carefully constructed friendship began to shake. Louise approached us, her long brown hair cascading over her shoulders. A slight smile played on her lips as she settled into the chair across from me. "Remember the days before the pandemic?" she pondered, her eyes twinkling with nostalgia. I nodded, smiling weakly. Those were the days when life seemed less complicated, when the boundaries between the personal and the professional were suggestions rather than strict rules. "Those were good times," I replied, mentally revisiting meals together, laughter-filled nights, and the unspoken bond that had once bound us together. As the conversation moved through the corridors of our shared history, I noticed a subtle change in Louise's demeanor. Nostalgia gave way to an unexpected vulnerability, and she hesitated for a moment, as if struggling with some secret. "There's something I've never told you," she admitted, averting her eyes for a moment. The air between us filled with anticipation as Louise began to reveal a chapter of her life that had remained hidden even during our closest moments. I hadn't realized that this revelation would shatter the delicate balance we'd maintained for so long. The revelation hung in the air, creating an unspoken tension between us. Louise's confession echoed in my ears, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the landscape of our friendship was about to change irreversibly. A few weeks after our heart-to-heart talk in the office, an unexpected business trip to Japan appeared on the horizon. As colleagues, we were obliged to attend, and the prospect of getting away from the familiar office environment seemed like a breath of fresh air. I had no idea that the bright lights of Tokyo and its foreign appeal would be the backdrop for a chapter I had never imagined. The long flight to Japan was a test of endurance, and upon arrival we were left jet-lagged and disoriented. Meetings and presentations merged into one another while we coped with the professional responsibilities associated with the trip. The routine nature of our corporate duties contrasted sharply with the pulsing energy of Tokyo outside the window. On the second night, as the neon lights of the city twinkled like distant stars, Luis and I found refuge from our strenuous work in the dimly lit corners of a local bar. The sake flowed freely, washing away the remnants of our professional selves. As night fell, the barriers that separated us dissolved into the amber glow of Tokyo's nightlife. We talked of old times before Covid, of shared adventures and laughter. The weight of unspoken desires hung in the air, pulling us closer. In a moment of reckless looseness, we let the invisible boundaries that limited us blur. Back at the hotel, the lines between friendship and something more became as hazy as the city lights outside the window. Our lips met in a kiss that tasted of familiarity and uncertainty. In the quiet intimacy of my hotel room, we dropped the professional facades that had defined us for so long. Passion erupted like a flame, and we gave ourselves over to the desires that lurked beneath the surface. The air crackled with electricity as we explored each other with a hunger that defied the bounds of friendship. The night passed like a secret shared between conspirators, leaving an indelible mark on our souls. Afterward, as the echoes of our passion faded into silence, I couldn't help but wonder if Tokyo had witnessed the birth of a new chapter or the unraveling of everything we thought we knew about each other. I didn't know that the morning light would bring not only clarity, but a revelation that would shake the fragile foundation of our bond. The morning light filtered through the curtains of the hotel room and softly illuminated Louise's face as she lay beside me. There was a tension in the air that I hadn't felt before, a palpable anxiety lurking in the space between us. The exposure of Louise's husband had cast a shadow over our intimacy, and the weight of guilt hung over me like a heavy cloak. As I lay there, dealing with the aftermath of our night in Tokyo, Louise stirred beside me. Her eyes, clouded with desire a few hours ago, now flashed with uncertainty. I couldn't help but wonder if she, too, felt the weight of the secret we now shared. "He started looking at me," she repeated, and her words hung in the air like an unspoken confession. The reality of her marriage, the cracks in its foundation, and its approaching end hung between us like an invisible barrier. I felt a prick of sympathy for Louise, tangled in a web of deceit and a marriage coming apart at the seams. But that sympathy was overshadowed by the realization that I had become an unwitting accomplice to her betrayal. As morning came, Louise's desires flared up with renewed vigor, and we were once more entangled in the web. But the passionate bond we had shared was now overlaid with a weight of realization, a heavy burden that stretched the thin threads of our bond. The invisible line we had crossed became clearer in the harsh light of day, and the consequences of our actions loomed ominously. After a moment's silence, Louise expressed her desire to continue our clandestine meetings, hidden from her husband's prying eyes. The proposal hung in the air, and I found myself at a crossroads. The moral compass in me collided with the lure of the forbidden, and I hesitated, torn between the thrill of desire and the weight of responsibility. "I can't," I finally managed to say, and the words came off my lips with a heaviness that matched the gravity of the situation. Louise's disappointment was palpable, but I couldn't ignore the truth. Our connection, once fueled by a heady mixture of desire and mystery, now had the bitter taste of betrayal. Struggling with conflicting emotions within myself, I realized that the choices we made after passionate nights in Tokyo would determine the course of our future. The invisible line we crossed without hesitation was a stark reminder that some boundaries, once broken, leave an indelible mark on the soul. Days turned into weeks, and the Tokyo affair cast a long shadow over our professional lives. The familiar routine of the office became the stage for a secret drama hidden beneath the surface of meetings and presentations. The invisible line we crossed in Japan left an indelible mark, a secret shared between two people in the most unlikely union. The weight of guilt pressed down on me, constantly reminding me of choices made in the heat of desire. Louise carried that burden too, and our interactions at work began to be colored by a subtle awkwardness. The camaraderie we had once shared was replaced by a tension that hung in the air, a consequence of the secret affair that now bound us together. As the days dragged on, Louise's marital problems grew deeper. The cracks in her relationship widened, and the web of deceit she had woven around her husband became more and more tangled. Our meetings, once fueled by passion, became moments of escapism from the harsh realities of her personal life. Caught in the crossfire of desire and responsibility, I found myself at a crossroads. The moral compass that had guided me through life now wavered under the weight of secrets. Revealing the truth meant jeopardizing the stability of our professional lives, and the web of deceit we were weaving threatened to entangle us in a maze from which there was no way out. Whispers in the office and subtle glances became a constant companion, a reminder that secrets, no matter how well guarded, have a way of leaking out. Louise's husband, unaware of the affair, continued to watch her, unknowingly becoming a pawn in the intricate game of deception. One fateful day, the web began to unravel. Rumors spread through the office like wildfire, and the once hidden affair became a poorly kept secret. Colleagues whispered in hushed tones, curiosity and judgment in their eyes. "Louise, cornered by the consequences of our actions, faced a reckoning she could no longer evade. In the harsh light of truth, our bond crumbled, leaving behind a trail of shattered trust and shattered illusions. The invisible line we had once recklessly crossed had led us into a maze of deceit from which it was not easy to escape.